time. In this first package, we've got a package and a package. Well, 3 of them to be precise, and I have a feeling I know what this first one is. This is made to dampen the up and down movement as you're walking to hopefully give you a smoother walking pace, making your videos look a little more professional and almost as if it was shot on a Steadicam. In here I have an inner tube which looks way too big. They sent me the wrong size. In this package, I have received a very small but important addition to my little kit. Here it is. It is a Kogan A2 U3 V30 512 gigabyte micro SD card, which will be paired up with this package from JB Hi-Fi, which is very well wrapped, and it is of course the DJI Mic Mini. Now, why am I getting all this DJI stuff? Well, I purchased from Trade Me the Osmo Pocket 3. I finally have a decent little camera like this to replace my old Osmo Pocket 2, which, in case you couldn't hear, isn't doing too healthily. So now I have an Osmo Pocket 3 with a wireless microphone and an appropriate memory card. This is a Kogan micro SD card, which I'm assuming is going to perform quite well, considering I've got one in my Steam Deck. There we go, looking snazzy. Little modern day Bo Peep. Though I have to take them off to turn the Osmo off, so maybe they're not that useful. Without overcomplicating things, I'm recording now on the Osmo Pocket 3. Let's open up this box and see what's actually in here. Here's the pouch, which I'm assuming contains everything you need for this little kit, which seems to be quite a lot. Here we go. This is a very nice and tidy little microphone. And it, has the little magnetic thing on there. And now I've got the microphone attached. All I did was go into the menu, hit wireless microphone, hit pair microphone receiver transmitter 1, and then I press the pair button on here where the light blinked a couple times, and boom, it's connected. It told me the battery status of this, and now I've got a battery level at the top of the screen bouncing around, indicating how much volume is actually coming through. I haven't listened to it yet because I've literally just paired it, but I would assume that this is going to sound much better than the built-in microphone, though the Osmo Pocket 3 does have quite a nice built-in microphone array. I must say I do like the USB-A to 2 USB-C cables. I wonder if either of them are data or if it's purely charging. I would imagine it is purely charging. And I do like this snazzy little single receiver charger. One great thing about this receiver is that you can still pair a second wireless receiver to it so that you can use both channels. And with this little tabby bit here that can come out, you can connect it via USB-C to your phone, or I have seen there is a hot shoe mount for Sony cameras, so you can pipe the signal directly into the camera itself so that you don't have to use a TRS connection on the camera. This little volume dial is interesting, seems to do plus 6 dB, plus 12 dB, as well as minus 6 dB and minus 12 dB. Now, of course, this isn't a review of this stuff. You obviously can find far better and more detailed reviews on YouTube. I'm just showing off the new microphone I now have, and hopefully this will basically indicate that quality of my videos will increase, or, I mean, you can hear me better. Okay, it's been a few days, and I think it's time to try greasing this up again. Maybe I didn't put enough grease on it, and that's why the other one worked, and this one is still not holding air.
Huh? Yes. It is holding air. All right. I can't remember what I got the last one up to.
Let me check the pressure on the other wheel. Oh gosh. I thought this was going to be taking up the next hour. I thought this was going to be quite a mission. That went a whole lot quicker and easier than I was anticipating. I thought this was going to be a fight. But cake the grease on and it's going to work out all right. Let's just wipe off all this excess grease. Well, the grease did its job, so even though there's a lot of excess grease on the outside of the wheel, it is not wasted. Now, I think the last thing to do is to weld on the stoppers onto the axle of the go-kart, and then I can chuck these on, bolt them in place. That'll finally get it down on all four wheels. Then I can begin attaching the batteries. One issue I didn't anticipate though is I've had so much focus on getting these wheels pumped up and I forgot to get some washers to put on here to weld in place. So I don't have a lot of options there. I think I might just have to go to the shop and buy some appropriately sized washers. Or can I just weld my current washers onto the wheel here? Will that hold? Let's test it out on the old rims. All right, that's locked in place. I'm going to go with worst case scenario and not scratch off any paint so that I can just test to see if this would even be very viable at all, because I'd rather not have to rip off the paint. If I'm going to have to go to the store, then I might as well buy something that's specifically made to sort of like lock on an axle rather than welding to an axle with something I've got no idea what I'm doing with. Okay. That's really all we need for this little test. This is just to see if I'm going to burn a hole right through it, and from the looks of things, it doesn't look like I'm burnt any holes into it. I like these new gloves that I purchased. They are nice and soft and comfortable on the inside. I can't believe I used those gross second-hand ones. These were like 20 bucks, and I could wear these in winter. They're quite nice and comfortable to wear. I think welding to the rim itself might be my current best option. I'll use the grinder just to... hang on a second. See, the tough part here is deciding if I want the back wheels to be more or less easily replaceable again in the future, which would mean I don't want to weld to the axle because, I mean, I've got a grinder. I can always just grind off what's not meant to be there. I don't know why this is such a difficult decision. I'm right at the end. I'm at the precipice of finishing this project. And yet I'm stuck deciding whether or not to damage this part or damage that part. Okay, this is the cheaper part. This is the cheaper part. So this is the part that's going to get a little bit damaged. Fingers crossed. Alright, I quickly took it outside and wet it because this is still a rubber tire, and in the real world people would take the tire off before they did welding and stuff on it. But I don't want to go through that again. Alright, I got this one done on the first try. It's still not pretty, and to be honest, the first one looks a little better than this one. But I was also really conscious about how hot the tire was getting. I don't want to burn a hole in it, because I know this isn't the proper way of doing this. Those are some pretty ugly looking welds. But I can hit this with this hammer, and it's not coming off. Let's do a quick test fit on the cart itself. Slot that on, and look at that. It's not going any further than that washer I've welded on. Fantastic. And I've got the perfect size key to fit this gap here to help lock everything in place. I've got the nut that goes on here. So let's put a quick lick of paint on this so that it protects it a little bit, and then we can slap them on. It should do it. I'm no painter, but it looks better than just bare metal. It's finally time to put these wheels on the go-kart and sit it down, ready for batteries to be installed. And it is finally on its own 4 wheels, sitting on the ground. I feel like I could just jump in and ride it right now. Though I still need to put all the batteries in and actually connect them up. With the batteries in place, I pull out some cable and make some measurements so that I can begin building all of the jumpers needed to connect these batteries in series. After I finish cutting all of the cable down to the lengths needed, I can then begin stripping the ends and applying the lug to it. At first, I just complete a single cable to ensure that I know the process and am able to do it efficiently. And once I'm comfortable with that, production really starts to take off. Alright, so I've finally finished making these little battery connectors and I'm just about ready to chuck these on Go-Kart number 2. Now, usually I'd put it all together and then ride it, but I'm gonna skip chucking the case on so that I can at least just give it a little back and forth, make sure that it is rolling and riding and exactly how it's supposed to be. I don't want to put it all together and then have to pull it apart again. That's always really annoying. So let's quickly chuck these cables on and give it a quick test drive. Bringing the cables over to the cart, I'm able to connect my main positive and negative to where the main connection is for the controller, and then I connect that first positive to the battery. Then I work backwards from the end battery, pushing up to this first front battery, just to try and make sure that I'm being as safe as I can and taking away the risk of a positive and negative touching together. With all the batteries connected, I chuck on its simple steering wheel here. I tidy up the control wires that are loose on the batteries, and then I finally enable the motor controller, ready for its first So the motor controller is damaged. After spending some time checking over everything and making sure that everything was in the right place and everything is wired up correctly, I come to the conclusion that after all this time and all this work and all this build-up to finally get this kart going, okay, I'm starting to think this motor controller is damaged. It's reacting the same way as when the motor controller in the other one was damaged and died. So for now, I'm going to leave this battery pretty well disconnected. So I've disconnected at each of the cells just to make it safe to sit for a while. I'm going to have to order a new motor controller, and hopefully I'm able to just simply slot it in and everything work.